Peter McGuire, welcome to another COVID edition of our Around the Markets program. We're talking with the CEO here in Australia of XM.com, Mr. Peter McGuire. Peter, welcome back. It's another week. It's another trading week. Today's a Wednesday. We typically talk on a Monday, but things sometimes get away from us. And so let's get going. The pace of US CPI inflation theoretically is out there to test the dollar bulls this weekend.
Absolutely, Will, and good morning and greetings on a lovely sunny winter's day, they call it, in Sydney, and it's just absolutely a perfect morning. Yeah, Will, we've had a very big week. When we look back in retrospect, we had that non-farm payrolls come in on Friday at 943,000, which I think overwhelmed. Whilst you say that, you're happy with a 915, 900,000 handle, I think, like it or not, it's a big number. And if that momentum can continue, then I'm sure that we're going to have a far sturdier workforce naturally over the next couple of months. And leading into that, of course, what you highlighted, and we'll make reference to that this morning, is the inflation story. So, without any further ado, let's get in.
Righto. Well, before we rip into the inflation story, Bloomberg's commenting on a bunch of things around the market. We've got the prognosis in Asia hit by the Delta. Hong Kong is extending. Curbs are increasing. We've got the RBNZ stepping up anti-money laundering scrutiny. Westpac's on the nose there. In fact, all banks really, let's face it, have to step up and do a bit of work to come out and get in front of that story. In politics, Biden's standing out as the US pulls out of Afghanistan. And these are all big trading signals, Pete. Now, we're not going to talk about too many of them today, but as we speak about regularly, one of the things we have to take notice of is what's happening in the world around us. How do those things play into, and what do they kick out as trading signals? Looking in tech and looking at markets, looking at wealth, looking at the economics. And look, once again, I think the overarching story here is that COVID's impacting everybody. Doesn't matter what business you're in, doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter how you do it. And I think we won't talk about it today too much, but guys, seriously maintain some contacts with some people that you know and keep talking to them.
Absolutely, Will. Good mental health is very important, physical health, and of course, walks in the sunshine. No matter where you are in the world, vitamin D, and get up build your immunity systems and be healthy, Will. Good nutrition.
All right, you mentioned inflation in the opening cards, and so here it is. Charts up on screen right now. It's the inflation expectations. We're looking at forward rates, the percentages. We're looking at the US dollar, the 2-year forward, 2-year swap, and out to 7 years. And so on screen here we have have those inflation expectations. Pete, what are you thinking? What are you seeing?
Well, it's an occurrence, Will, that you've got the Fed saying that it's not too great an issue to worry about. We've got taper talks that could impact the market as far as winding back taper. I think there's a divergence globally, as we've highlighted over the last matter of weeks and months, the haves and the have-nots as far as banks that are going to pull taper off the table and, of course, increased interest rates. Let's look at Kiwi, let's look at US, possibly Australia somewhere, UK, then look at the non-participants, Japanese, Swiss and Eurozone. So that divergence, I think, is going to create more angst for currency traders. As you highlight there, as far as inflation expectations, the chart says everything. That's what our traders need to be conscious of, those great inputs. And as well, you run a family, Will, I run a family, mine are just a little bit older, but I'm conscious that the buying power at the supermarket, the cost of fuel, all of those inputs are naturally inflation concerns, and that's affecting the globe. And that's just the world that we're living in, Will.
That's the world we live in. That's the reality, and that's what's potentially coming down the pipe. If we look at the chances of serious inflation, what are we seeing? I think the data and the research suggests that that I'm reading here, that's come out of the XM.com docs, is that we're really looking at it. The expectation is that it will remain below 2%.
Yes. Well, that's the expectation, but at the moment we're well above 5%, and the concern is, will it actually pull back? I've never seen stimulus like it. We've discussed that, as a great discussion over that last year and a half together, that you've primed the pump that hard with trillions of dollars globally. How hard is it going to be to pull that inflation story off the market? Currencies. And of course, the next part as far as commodities and what you're seeing as far as that inflation rate, Will.
Righto, Pete. Well, quickly, what's the trade here for anybody watching this morning?
I think you've got to be mindful. Have a look at gold. It's really been pulled back and hit hard. and look at that US dollar story. The US dollar index is above 93. Will, is it going to continue that northern drive over this quiet, traditional? August is a very quiet month for data. So we're going to see it slowly edge up. The infrastructure, debt ceilings, all of that. There's some global themes that we could spend 5 hours talking on one theme, let alone covering 5 or 6 in about 7 minutes.
Well, let's not do that. Diving into the next chart, let's have a quick look here. We've got US consumer prices to face a minor slowdown in July. Consumer prices related to inflation. We're talking about prices up. We're talking about the prices actually a minor slowdown at a price. I mean, what is that? Is that simply product pricing itself out of a market, or are they simply saying they just can't jack the price up to capture any more margin?
Well, Jed, that's an interesting point. Yeah, I'd need maybe a prof. I'm seeing a prof at 10 o'clock in accounting, but maybe I should have a meeting with a prof from economic theory, because that's just so. There are so many moving parts to that really, again, need to be considered. But I think from a trading perspective, be conscious as far as where your currency or what currencies you're trading in, and what impact the next matter of months could be as far as price appreciation for currencies. What happens again with those commodities, the crude, the gold, and do we see if you're going to see interest rates edge up higher, Will, what impact that's going to have naturally, one would think, to equity markets.
A good call. All right, next chart on screen, we have the US dollar versus Japan, the daily chart. We're seeing some interesting movements here, mate. We've seen an ascending trend line.
Yeah, when you're looking at that, it's been a very solid move. Again, US dollar strength against the yen, and it seems to be very much, sideways. There's no great whipsawing there. It's up and down, certainly, and that's traditional with the markets. Japan, as we know, should have had probably tens of millions, Will, traveling to their shores over the last month. If we didn't have a COVID, we would have had naturally the Olympics last year and then the Paralympics. People enjoying the Japanese culture. They're not getting any of those yen spent, those dollars earned in another country like an Australian, flying up to Japan and enjoying it, no jet lag, and appreciating the culture and taking on board everything the Olympics offers. So we don't see that now. And the yen, I don't think that the Japanese are going to be looking at raising of rates anytime soon.
No, I don't think so. But tell you what, they put on a great Olympics under a set of trying circumstances, and I think
absolutely,
if we take anything from it, the teams, certainly the Australian team commentary coming back from the Olympics was that the camaraderie was great. The team, it felt like a real team, a real Australian team games, and. Yes. Despite the fact that there were no spectators there, everybody clearly put in their best and delivered the output that they'd trained for. So that was some really positive experiences, positive events, and I think enormous investment in time, energy, and heart muscle to get there, compete, and come back with that medal haul.
Absolutely, Will. Absolutely. It takes devotion, takes huge amounts of discipline and devotion, and really, and I just want to draw one quick line, and you've represented and been a great sportsman in your own right, and I'm not singing your praises, but you know that. And the other part, of course, is that it takes discipline to be on an Olympic stage, and regardless of medal, Will, if you represent, Kerry Packer, that wonderful Australian, said, I don't care, to represent this nation, and his line was in tiddlywinks. In other words, doesn't matter. You've represented your nation, and that's a proud achievement for any person, family, and network that you're associated with. It takes discipline. It takes a belief system, and really, I think that's what you need to be offering yourself, and that belief system as far as trading. It takes discipline, Will.
Discipline's important. Last trade for the day here, or last series of commentary for the day. Pete, on screen, we're just talking about the daily performances of a number of different products and commodities here. But the crude oil outperforming. We've got gold moving. We've got the US Japan we just spoke about. And as we roll down, we look at some of the negative performers there. The New Zealand dollar versus US. I mean, it's going backwards.
Absolutely.
The Aussie versus the US, well, it seems to be holding its own around about zero. And we're talking daily performances here, Pete, but for as a reminder, as a reference. But I mean, not much else to really kind of draw out from this, other than the fact that trade signals are what they are. The world is what it is. We've seen the commentary around inflation. And certainly, if we take a daily scan of the market, there's plenty of news, but I think fundamentally we're still mixing the pot.
Absolutely, Will. And those markets, just wrapping that up, you saw that huge sell-off as far as crude over the last matter of days, and now it's bounced to the upside. Gold again got spanked down, best part of $100, and that happens Monday morning our time, about 8 a.m. The spot market absolutely hammered down, and it's bounced off that. That US dollar's continued to uplift, and there it really demonstrates that stronger US dollar against all of those currencies in the red. So US dollar has been continuance as far as uptick. Will, I think, and you've only just got to keep a close eye for your trading, that US dollar index. And I want to say thanks again for a great chance to discuss that with Boardroom Media.
Oh, Pete, welcome, and pleased to talk to you this morning. Stay well, stay healthy, and good luck with the rest of the day.
Take care, and to all our viewers, thank you very much. Take care. Good health, guys.